And good afternoon, and welcome to this week's The Marketing Gem. This week's Marketing Gem, we're discussing this topic of paper. Is it dead, or is it a case of long-lived paper? In this digital age, many predicted the end of any role for paper in marketing SMEs throughout the UK, and especially in the growth of following the growth of social media. Companies such as the Facebook and Twitter and their popularity in attracting advertisers, as well as Google using pay-per-click views and stuff like that in the web search. As usual with this week's Marketing Gem, I'm joined by the usual panel of marketing experts. Jonathan, hi, and welcome to the show.
Yes, sorry I've been away for 3 or 4 weeks, but the apartment in Weymouth is looking amazing. So it's all been good exercise, showing multi-talented abilities, far more to do with saws, drills, and paintbrushes and things like that than to do with marketing. But ultimately, I suppose it's all about marketing because we probably added 50% to the value of the property. Okay, far away.
Okay, and another multi-skilled member of our team is Catherine.
Well, hello. This is a really interesting topic for me because I deal with paper all the time. I run a graphic design and print company, and I have done for over 25 years. I'm not going to tot up exactly how many here and now, but yeah, I deal with lots of printed goods, whether it's promotional items for companies, usually small local companies or sole traders, I should be fighting the paper corner today.
Okay, and thank you for declaring that vested interest. And someone who one would always assume is a champion of digital and web use, but I know is working on one or two projects that are using print and paper to publicise themselves and their products and services, is Kevin Lynch. Hi, Kevin.
Hi, Diane. Thanks for having me on. Yes, although I am the e-advocate, behind that hard shell is a deep joy and love of paper. Having said that, before you print out this podcast, think, as the old footers on the emails always say, make me laugh with.
Okay, right, okay. So, now, many years ago, Jonathan, I think there was this great belief, as I said in the introduction, that paper would not have a role to play in advertising. I think events have proved that is not the case, that there's still a role for paper in marketing SMEs, and in some sectors that role has never totally disappeared, in other places it's coming back. Would you agree?
Well, yes, I mean, it's horses for courses, isn't it? There's always a role because the people at the receiving end of any kind of messaging are individuals. They're consumers in their own right. Even when you're dealing with B2B, you're dealing with people who consume like anyone else. And it's also the scalability. Paper is very good at being able to deliver one message to one person through to millions of messages, through to millions of people. We have definitely seen digital media do an enormous amount of damage to the national newspapers. And we've also seen it do quite a lot of long-term damage, if you like, to other sort of localized businesses and traditional businesses. Part of that is because of the flexibility of the vehicle, the digital vehicle. Part of it, though, is down to the traditional areas not actually thinking about what their strengths are and trading to those strengths. So I sent out a thing this morning from Marketing Week about local retail. Actually, you should focus on what the benefits of being local are to compete with the global distribution companies like Amazon, etc. Same is very true in a sense of print and, let's say, newspapers, is that if you're a local newspaper, don't just focus on reducing your costs, but actually develop a product that trade on its ability to be local and boost local business. That sort of thinking maybe go the traditional way of working. But as I said at the beginning, it depends on what you want to communicate. But there's still an awful lot of time left for print media, and that goes for the, if you like, the traditional areas that I would deal with, like newspapers. But it also goes for the other things, all the way down to people's cards. They are still important, and they're much more flexible than anything you can sort of use in a digital environment. So trade to their strengths.
Okay, Catherine, I mean, you just get asked to do a whole range of things. So do you find you're working a lot more for one sector than another, or are you working across all sectors, and what sort of things are you asked to produce?
Goodness me, where to start? Well, a very obvious thing that lots of customers ask me for at the moment are banners. As you can see by the two behind me, it's the pop-up banners, which are very, very useful for showcasing what you do. So, you know, companies that are going to exhibitions showcasing the company, usually they'll have a set of banners, they'll have some flyers, business cards at the very least to hand out. You know, it's precisely the sort of event where paper products come into their own. You want something to hand to someone for them to take away with them. I've dug out a whole load of different samples, but one particularly that anybody that knows Nick and I, we go to a lot of food festivals, and when you go to food festivals, they're always handing you something. You know, it's some sort of information that you then take away, look on the website, have a flick through what they do, and it's then sort of implanted as a seed in the brain. You know, there's all sorts of bits of advertising. Hair and beauty salons will often have a price list that they hand out to people in the street. It's not only telling people what they do, but it's getting their little brand, their information out there. You know, if anybody that goes to the theatre and subscribes to a members list at the theatre will have a mailing of some sort, usually as well as an email to actually tell you what's going on, often with a booking form of some sort at the back, and particularly targeting people, perhaps classical concerts. I'm not trying to generalise here, but very often an older generation of people will like to actually fill in a form, put it in an envelope and post it off. So it's making whatever you do accessible to as wide an audience as possible. That's not to say that you don't embrace the social and digital side of digital media as well, but actually it's a collaborative process. You do a bit of one, do a bit of the other, and you find what works for you. There's a whole range of different products that I'd be happy to talk to anybody on Twitter about. If anybody's got any questions, any ideas, you know, I can. I've got more samples I could hold up. People who are doing invitations. Again, this is a changing market. People always want printed invitations, but more and more these days we're getting, oh, we don't want to send those abroad, can we do a digital version of that so that we can actually send it on an email abroad as well? So again, it's this encompassing both fields, you know, looking at what works in both camps and putting the two together.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin, you're normally a great advocate for everything E, including digital marketing, and use of the website and everything to promote products, but I think even you agree from what you told me yesterday that print has a role to play in your view.
Print and paper, it's fantastic, and while Catherine was on just speaking a few seconds ago, she had that brilliant combination of paper and e-technology right sitting behind her that I was just able to do her QR code on her CB graphics poster. And you know, QR codes are a fantastic bit of paper that connect you back into the digital world. Fantastically reusable objects. For example, you can put a business card in there. You can have various calls to action. Very, very powerful thing. Anyone with a mobile phone can just tap on it. So that's one great use of paper. The other great use of paper that I like is, and this is where, you know, creativity and working with people can really pay dividends. You know, people love this virtual reality technology, and you know, Facebook have bought Oculus Rift, and they're selling a product that will be to market for about £500 or whatever. And at Google's event last year, they came up with Google Cardboard, where literally what they did was they had a sort of like the old eyeglasses made of cardboard, and they put a little NFC chip in it so the phone could recognize that it was present, and you put that app in, and then it starts giving you the 3D view. One of the hottest things on the go. My son was pestering me saying, "Oh, Dad, can you not order me some Google Cardboard? I really want it." I was like, "No," but fantastic. So with paper, you know, where paper is dead is if you're doing the same old, same old. But if you approach it with fresh eyes, looking at things like, one of our family jokes is, everything is always better with Bluetooth. So think about your piece of paper, put something in Bluetooth with it, and see what you get. Work with someone like Catherine, and you're going to have, a fantastic bit of marketing stuff that's just going to cut through all the other demands for attention in daily life, and it's just really going to put you, your brand, your product, slap bang in the customer's consciousness. Fantastic. Why would you not use it?
Yeah, I mean, I think, say, in fast food restaurants and everything, there's still a great tendency to rely on the menus, purely and simply because you can stick them onto the fridge with a fridge magnet, Catherine.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, very often they do two things in fast food restaurants. They've usually got a great big menu up above, which again is printed. It'll be a paper of some sort or a material that of some sort. So you've got that visual aid, and then very often people will just grab a takeaway menu to take away with them as well. It's a piece of paper, and everybody has a takeaway menu drawer at home, don't they? You just gather them for years to come. But when you want one, you know where it is. It's a great point of reference. It's something to tuck away somewhere. Either in a purse, a wallet, whether it's a menu or, say, an advert for something that's happening locally. I mean, I still do lots of flyers, advertising so many different things. People like to have a flyer. Okay, they might only read it once, put it down somewhere, but actually when they sit down with a cup of coffee later, they might actually just pick it up again and have another read, Whereas, looking through apps and digital adverts, sometimes very much people skim through and it's gone, and very often it's, oh, well, I know it's there, I can't be bothered to find it. It's great to actually have something tangible that you can say, oh, well, I'll just have a good read of that now that I've got the time, and it's something, as you say, you can stick it on a fridge, you can reference it later. It's always going to be there.
Okay, Jonathan, is the use of print and its use in marketing very much an age thing? That sort of, if you're 40 plus, you prefer things printed, and if you're under 40, you want everything digitally? Hello, Jonathan.
I think Jonathan's having technical problems.
Okay, well, perhaps, Kevin, you could give us your thoughts on that.
It's true the younger people do enjoy the stuff, but older people, that they like their gadgets. A tablet adoption. It's currently the highest rate of adoption is in those older generations. Though, I'm not sure if they're doing pretty much more than just taking pictures of their grandchildren. But in terms of paper, I think what's gone and is going are the boring old staples, the newspapers. I mean, like, for example, I saw a lot of angst about the axing of marketing and campaign, and that although campaigns are part of marketing, the magazine publishers decided that campaign was a better brand to maintain. So, what you're going to see, those older static dull markets for paper, they are collapsing. But innovation, things, as Catherine was saying, things like banners, they're now much more flexible. It's easy to get one done. I go to amateur rugby events and I'm just so impressed at the quality of the graphics and stuff that's there for an under 12s match. It shows that the budget is there, the money is there, and what's needed is imagination and application. That's kind of, and that was always the way and will always be the future of marketing.
Yeah, okay. And I mean, in my case, I belong to several societies and stuff like that, and although I interact with them on a daily basis, electronically, through web, email, social media, that sort of thing. The thing I look forward to from a couple of them anyway is always receiving their monthly subscription magazine, which is also produced electronically, but I just prefer to look through it kind of in front of the telly. It's got a nice kind of feel to it. So it's a great way for me to maintain and to keep it. And because it's printed, I tend to hold on to it much longer than I do if it's a digital piece, where it will just get filed away somewhere on the hard disk. And it's much more difficult for people to go back to.
Yes, I think you're right, Diane. I think that's a great call for something that's actually printed, lands on your doorstep, and you can pick up, and it's a physical thing. I was just thinking about school, college, and university prospectuses, and I know there's a great number of these establishments that have gone over to purely digital. Download your PDF of your prospectus, but there's also a number that actually still send one through the post, and certainly we've just gone through this process with our youngest daughter, and it was actually very nice to have a glossy printed brochure. You can see the pictures in all their glory rather than trying to squint and enlarge and all the rest of it, or trying to see it on a mobile device. It was nice to be able to have that reference and to actually be able to have 2 or 3 in front of you at the time and compare the different things. It was a nice, tangible experience that you could actually really appreciate. I say not everybody does that. These days, it's like company brochures as well. Very much, there's a pointer towards a website. Well, all our details are on there. You can download company brochure. You can see our list of services and all the rest of it. But actually, it's sometimes quite nice to meet somebody face to face, have a nice printed brochure, have a folder with some inserts in. You can leave with somebody, leave on their desk, and you know that, okay, maybe they can't look at it all now, but they might take it home with them that evening. And as I say, have a look at it in a more relaxed environment, something they can refer to, something that's then there as a physical thing, rather than, oh, well, take a look at the website and just hope that they do. It's nice to know that you've left something with a customer that they can look at a later date.
Hi, Catherine, can I ask you a question about those kind of folders? What do you think about the idea, for example, putting in a prepaid Costa card or something and just have a little look saying, have a coffee and us, something like that? Do you think there's value in that kind of thing?
That's not a bad idea at all. Absolutely. I mean, it's easy enough. You get lots of these folders with business card slots cut into them. Pop one of those in as well. Absolutely. Lovely little advertising tool. You actually... But, yeah. Are you saying that you'd like one of these, Kevin? Just wondering. But,
other coffee chains are available, but I just, I wonder, for example, because quite often, people put it in the drawer and forget about it. So if you have a little sort of card in there, at the back saying, "Thank you for going through all this," and as an expression of gratitude, have a coffee on us, something like that.
Absolutely. I mean, a lot of people would do something similar that include a pen or something like that as well, or perhaps some sort of pop-up calendar or something like that. Yeah, absolutely. It's a nice little thank you for taking the time to have a look at it. Yeah, why not?
I read a statistic about pens, which is that apart from people writing their own signature now, nobody appears to be writing anything anymore.
Oh, no, I
wouldn't
agree with that. I would say, I mean, I was at a meeting yesterday, albeit it was with the charity that I work with, not the business. And everybody had pens. We were all scribbling something down that we then go and either type up or write up later. Yeah, I think there's still a need for pens. Whenever we do a charity event, we'll always scatter some pens around. At the very least, people will pick it up and say, oh, right, okay, they might pop it in their pocket. They might give it to somebody else, you never know. But no, I think there'll still be a need for pens. But maybe, in certain markets, maybe a little USB with your logo branding on it as well might be just as effective.
Yeah, I mean, I think pens and social promotional tools like that, I think is a whole different subject that we could just talk another week on, because I think it's a fascinating area that's got endless possibilities. Jonathan, welcome back.
Hi there.
Hi there.
Right, I missed quite a lot because I lost all sound.
Okay. Well, we're obviously still discussing the role of paper and everything, and I was making a point that Kevin kind of agreed that perhaps if you're older, you prefer stuff printed, and if you're aiming at a younger target market, it's they're much more likely to be read if it's a digital thing. And I also talked about how with certain things it's nicer to get the paper because in some ways it's got a much longer shelf life than digital material has, because if it's on a website you might just look at it briefly and then move away. Would you agree with all of that?
Yes, I mean, I think it's human nature in certain areas, the physical filing and digesting of things, a lot of people find easier with paper than they do using digital systems. And, evidence in the book market, there are still a good proportion of people who'd rather go on holiday with a couple of good copies of hardbacks or softback books than a Kindle or some such electronic reading device, despite the electronic device being incredibly convenient and not needing charging for weeks or the rest of it. It's just human nature. I mean, there is
a lot more practical on a sandy beach to have a book than a Kindle, just saying.
It depends on how sandy your beach is and whether you intend to leave it where your beach bag was or take it in the water with you. Neither of which, particularly digital or old technology, are going to stand up too well to the swimming pool and various other things. But no, I mean, people have their personal preferences, and you have to respect that. I think what you should always remember, as I said earlier on, is that people are consumers, and that you should know who you're targeting, and you may well make your initial approach via one vehicle, but never be scared of, if you really know who you want to reach, of surrounding them with messages in different environments. I had a client many years ago who was absolutely certain that they could sell quite an expensive product to a business, get into the person who was supposed to be buying it. They wrote to him, they did all sorts of things, and no one would come back to them and give them a lead. And eventually I said, are you absolutely, if this person is the person you really want, we can do things that will make it stand out. And we parked a 48-sheet poster outside his office. He came out and spoke to us eventually. Yes, I think it worked. I think they sold him a couple of £1 million worth of kit. Sort of the old trick that they used to use every now and then when they were making a protest to the government, was you got 3 trucks with 48-sheet posters on the back of them, and you drove them round and round and round Parliament Square, and you made sure that the television cameras were watching you and all the rest of it. And then when the police came along and said, right, you've had enough, you must move on, you made damn sure one of the lorries broke down right in the middle of the traffic. Oh, no, we never did that. But it played all the usual tricks. Every medium has its purpose, every way of getting a message across, as long as you don't get caught, sort of doing damage to things and hurting people, if you like. But you can go a long way of making better use of the things that you've got around you, and drawing attention to yourself. And I think, in certain circumstances, a well-written letter will get you more cut through nowadays than any number of emails and any number of sort of messaging devices. Remember that a good proportion of the population now uses the smartphone as their primary form of communication. So it's not even being generally available on the web. You have to sort of cut the cloth to the needs of who you actually want to speak to. And inevitably, in virtually any marketplace, there will be a variety of areas where your customers go to. And just sort of put yourself in their shoes and think, what are the things that I would find most communicative, rather than sort of sitting behind your desk and saying, this is my business, this is what I'm trying to get them to do. Think of it from their perspective. Why would I buy from this person? And what are the things that they've done? Poster sites that, sort of the old thing about you write some copy and put it on a poster, and everyone goes, oh, either that's interesting or it catches my attention, but you've only got a fraction of a second. I can remember having some ad shell poster sites in London, and if people walked past it and didn't look at it properly, it spoke to them. You can do all sorts of things, and that makes people stop in their tracks. So just try and think of other ways that you can use everything.
Absolutely.
Paper, of course. The story I was going to say about paper before as well was the Hewlett-Packard story, where allegedly when they doubled their use of paper within 12 months. And that just reflects how keen we are on keeping everything on paper as human nature. So don't be surprised that people do keep paper.
Yeah, I mean, I think Catherine...
That's my bit.
Okay, thank you, Jonathan. Catherine, I mean, Jonathan there's talked very eloquently about big use of posters and 48-sheet posters, which, if you're not familiar, are those things we see on the sides of roads, that sort of thing. But it doesn't have to be a big, grand piece of advertising like that on a piece of paper, a little A5 or a little A4 leaflet.
Gosh, absolutely, yeah. I was going to share with you, there's a pack that I've just sent off with the church that I'm involved in. We're doing one of the Christian Aid big brekkies that they're advertising, which is a great little slogan. They've marketed this all over the place online, but you can actually send off for the paper pack as well. Now in here, obviously you've got various different paper products. So you've got a sponsored something or other there that people can write on. You've got papers. You've obviously got the welcome letter. You've got a bunch of balloons in there as a promotion for whatever you're doing as well. Paper stickers to give to everybody as well, obviously with the branding all over it. You've got a little fold-up coffee table card, which is a fabulous little thing. And also a little collection box, which obviously they send us a flat pack thing, and you fold and you put that together. All brilliant promotional items, along with their very clever little postcard that is a feedback thing, but also with the tick box of do you want to do more. It's a great charity aid to have something like this. You see this arrive on your doorstep, you think, wow, I've got all this, and this was free. But actually, it creates an interaction then with the charity. They raise more money from that interaction, and everybody's happy. And in the meantime, we're going to have a great big breakfast at our church next month and raise some money for them. But I thought it was quite an impressive pack that actually came through the door. They've even got some recipe menu cards to go with it as well. So someone in their marketing department has actually had a really good think of what can we actually do to make these events as good and as popular and as widespread as popular. I think it's absolutely brilliant. One of the best promotional practices I've ever seen.
Okay. Would you say with some people the fact that they actually have a physical piece of paper rather than seeing it on a screen makes the event or the piece of promotion or the company it's talking about more real?
I think I think the paper's there. I think Jonathan really tapped out an important thing, which is it's the power of surrounding a person. If you're reaching them via paper and you're reaching them via their screens and everywhere they go, you really do get through to people. I know Jonathan's spoken, for example, about grabbing sponsorship at an airport in the past, so that for a big event that was all locked up, his brand was excluded. But because he bought the airport, the people arriving saying, "Oh, I didn't realize this company was such an important sponsor." And that's the power of surrounding people in the airport. He bought the airport, he had his brand, boom, he got the brand impact first. Fantastic.
Yes, and yes, I mean, and to do that at an airport, there's an awful lot of advertising process. So it needs big budgets. The rules still apply, as I think we'd all agree, that you get the message out there using a variation of media, be it digital, emails, or print, and it's all about being consistent with the message and making it much more coherent and easily understood by people. Jonathan?
Yes, I mean, one of my favourites, which associates to Kevin's remarks, because yes, we were late into the airport, so we actually had to to create our own advertising sites within the airport, because Carlsberg, Coca-Cola, McDonald's, etc., had picked all the choice, obviously designed banners, and we found a corridor that everyone entering Europe Football Championship had to walk through, and we turned it into the tunnel that you have to run through as a football player onto the pitch in the stadium, but we branded it with our own things and had our own sounds. But as part of that overall campaign, one of the things we did across the whole of Europe was we had beer mats printed with fake.
Jonathan, sorry, the sound has gone again.
That's unfortunate. I mean, what Jonathan was saying earlier about surrounding people, you know, if there was a high value contact that I needed to reach, I now realise the simplest thing to do is to have, you know, hire 3 actors, let's say, and just get them to turn up with you know, placards, you know, saying, you know, Joe Smith, Kevin Lynch wants to talk to you, and just have them walk around on the pavement. You know, Joe Smith is going to come out. There's no doubt about that. And that's the, you know, again, that's use of paper, innovative, clever, reaching your target.
Yeah, I could see Jonathan visually talking on there as you were talking, but of course we seem to have lost Jonathan's total sound. I think it's really important that the areas that we've talked today about different about using paper in conjunction with electronic and social media, and also using paper on its own. And I think that the points have been made about surrounding your target audience, about the variety, the way that you can get people to engage with it, that Catherine's raised, I think is another really vital point in everything. I think really it's now time for tip of the week, because it's coming towards the end of the show. So Kevin, what would your marketing tip of the week be?
Actually, my marketing tip of the week is our old hoary favorite, the marketing audit. I was sort of talking to some business partners and just talking about a project, and one of my friends said to me, "Oh, so what's the competition for this thing?" And I said, "Actually, at this point, there's no competition." She threw her eyes to heaven, because that's what people always say. But I recognised that that this was fairly unique. That's why there was no competition. But it turned out that in fact that they had in fact done a marketing audit, and they had bought some mail lists for their target market, and they'd contracted a company to outreach to these people and answer some questions, which completely validated their take on the market. So once again, just the marketing audit. It's a fundamental foundation, and you never know when you're going to need it to pull it out to validate your market.
Okay. Well, we've lost John. Oh, hang on. Jonathan, are you back? Can you hear me? No, we can't. Okay. Well, Jonathan's tip of the week was to play to your strengths. In other words, identify what your strengths and weaknesses are in terms of marketing, and also about your product or your service, and to make sure that you highlight and emphasize those strengths, because everyone has weaknesses, but people are more interested in what your strengths are than what your weaknesses are. So play to your strengths is Jonathan's tip of the week. Catherine, what's yours?
Okay, this is a practical exercise. I was, first of all, I was just going to hop back to one thing that Jonathan mentioned before about, you know, his broken down truck, and you know, I read recently about something called guerrilla marketing. I don't know whether anybody knows anything about that, but I was reading that actually, you know, this is perhaps doing some graffiti and things like that. Nobody's advocating that, but down St Albans Road in Watford, down a lot of the shops, the post side by side of the shops, are lots of stickers. Lots of little companies get stickers and they stick them down the side of the shop, so it's at eye level when people walk in. Again, I'm not advocating defacing any buildings and things like that. But it was interesting to actually read that guerrilla marketing is a thing. But anyway, that was just a little aside. My tip of the week would be business card drawing. If you've never done this before, if you think about when sometimes you go into pubs, restaurants and things, you'll see a goldfish bowl on the countertop, and people pop their business cards in. At the end of the month, the restaurant or whatever it is will have a draw, and whoever wins will perhaps win a meal for two or some drinks that evening. Well, any businesses can do this as well. You can offer something at the end of the month. In my business, I could perhaps offer something like, 250 free flyers or something like that. Any business can offer something, even if it's just half an hour of your time, either a bowl for people to put cards in when they come to see you, or when you go to networking events, perhaps gather some cards, tell people what you're doing, and actually have a draw at the end of the month. Email everyone and say, well, really sorry, you perhaps didn't win this time, but perhaps you'd like to enter again. In the meantime, is there anything we can help you with? It can be a nice little foot in the door with some new business.
Yes, I mean, guerrilla marketing that you just talked about as part of your tip of the week has been going on for a long time, and there was a famous incident in Cape Town in the World Cup, in the last World Cup, Johannesburg in the last World Cup, where a Dutch brewery called Oranje Boom, I believe, dressed everyone in orange, and they brought up a big block of seats to get around the advertising ban placed on other non-sponsoring breweries. It caused a huge row, which caused a great deal of press exposure for them. So that kind of thing has been going for many, many years.
Interesting, yeah, very interesting.
It is something that's been going for many years. My tip of the week is basically, if you are going to do something on paper, get it designed properly. And I'm not just saying that because I've done that sort of thing in the past and because Catherine's on the show now. It's like everything else you do. If you're going to do printed material or produce any marketing material, the better it looks, the better it reflects on the brand value of your company. And it also means that if you do a well-produced, well-designed piece of marketing material, and you're competing against someone who hasn't taken the time and the effort and has spent a little bit of money to get that right, the money you spend will soon be made up in the returns and extra business that you get against those people who haven't made the effort and time to spend the money and think about what they're actually marketing and saying. So that's my tip of the week. Jonathan, are you back?
Yes, although you may not get any face, you might get sound. I'm getting sound on my mobile phone, but my PC is struggling. I think that the piece of bell wire that they call cable or broadband to my house is overstretched today. Anyway, tip of the week, I would say play to your strengths. If you're local, play to being local, and surround your audience. Don't rely on any one single channel to get to them. Use 2, 3, maybe 4, and mix it up a bit and move it around. And don't be frightened of doing more things and doing things differently. So just because everyone else has done something doesn't mean you have to do exactly the same. Try and be a bit different.
Okay, that's great. Well, thank you for that, Jonathan. This has been the Marketing Gem. Hopefully you've enjoyed the show. You can contact us via Twitter at the Marketing Gem. This is a weekly broadcast that's sponsored by Link for Growth TV. We will be back next week with another subject. We hope you found this one useful. If you do have any questions or queries, then please get in touch with any of us, and the Twitter addresses will follow shortly, or via the program itself. If you've got a particular topic you'd like to hear us talk about or to discuss, and we'll gladly do that, and then please get in touch again through the Marketing Gem. And on that point, it's time to say cheerio, and we will be back next week with, as I said, with another show then. Okay, bye-bye.